What if the real reason you haven't broken through isn't because you don't know what to do, but because you've been trained to play small? What if Dale Carnegie's most powerful principle, the one that could change everything, wasn't in his books, not in his speeches, not in his seminars? What if the most dangerous idea he ever held was the one he never dared say out loud? Because he knew most people couldn't handle it. Because this idea, it doesn't comfort, it doesn't inspire, it demands. And here it is. The one who commands influence becomes the architect of reality, not asks for influence, not hopes for impact, commands it. Let that sink in. You've been taught to win friends, to make people like you, to be agreeable, to listen, to smile. But Carnegie understood what few ever realized. Charm opens the door, but command owns the room. The most magnetic people in history, Lincoln, Mandela, Carnegie himself, they didn't beg for respect. They didn't perform. They didn't please. They carried themselves with a gravity that pulled the world toward them. Because people don't follow noise. They follow certainty. And certainty begins inside you. The way you walk, the way you speak, the way you own silence. Before you ever say a word, that's what Carnegie never put on paper. Because influence isn't about manipulation. It's about energetic authority. And most never touch it because they're still asking the world for permission to matter. But you're not here to ask. You're here to command. And you do that by destroying the one thing that makes lions act like lambs. Doubt. Doubt is the assassin of influence. It's the silent leak in your power. It's the voice that says, "Who are you to lead? Why should anyone listen to you? Maybe you're not ready." That voice is a liar, and every time you listen to it, you shrink. But here's the truth. No one is born ready. Not Carnegie, not Edison, not you. Read How to Win Friends and Influence People closely, and you'll see it. Buried in every principle is something deeper than strategy, something spiritual, something primal. It's the idea that you shape the room you're in by the way you shape your inner world. Carnegie taught techniques, but his success was built on presence. Presence that says, "I belong here. I have something valuable. My words matter because I matter." That kind of presence isn't bought. It's earned through fire, through failure, through the unglamorous act of becoming someone who no longer needs applause to feel real. Think about it. How did Lincoln influence a divided nation with nothing but words? How did Carnegie transform his name from steelworker's son to the blueprint for leadership itself? Not with titles, not with luck, with unshakable clarity of self. The world bends for people who bend their own limitations first, and that starts with one terrifying, liberating truth. You are not a product of your past. You are a prototype of your potential, but potential must be activated. And activation doesn't come from reading more or waiting longer. It comes from deciding, right now, that from this moment on, you will never again walk into a room and wonder if you belong. You will decide. You are the presence that elevates the room, that anchors the energy, that speaks with weight, that makes people lean in. Not because you shout, but because your very stillness carries intention. That's the real influence Carnegie wielded. And it wasn't in his smile. It was in his spine. It was in his internal architecture, his daily commitment to becoming a man people wanted to follow, because he had already led himself. So I ask you, are you still performing? Still hoping they notice you? Still shrinking your tone, your truth, your fire, so others feel more comfortable? Because if you are, you've traded your throne for their applause. But if you're done with that, if you're ready to walk in the power that's already inside you, then listen closely. You don't need to be loud to be felt. You don't need to be perfect to be respected. You don't need to be popular to be powerful. You need to be clear. Clear in intention. Clear in energy. Clear in purpose. Because when you get clear, you start to command. And when you command, you don't compete. You transcend. You don't sell ideas. You transfer belief. You don't chase followers. You attract alignment. This is what the 1% understand. The leaders, the movement makers, the entrepreneurs who speak and entire rooms fall silent. They don't just speak to be heard. They speak to be felt, because they've done the internal work to remove every trace of doubt from their identity. And that's what it means to command influence. It's not about control. It's about resonance. To walk into a space and align the atmosphere with your frequency. Before you even speak, you do that. And the world won't just hear you. It will remember you. Most people speak from thought. The elite speak from conviction. Because thought wavers. Thoughts change. They rise and fall with moods, with opinions, with outcomes. But conviction? Conviction doesn't ask for applause. It walks in knowing that what you say matters because you've lived it, because you've bled for it, because you've tested it in the furnace of resistance. That's where real influence is born, not in comfort, but in the crucible. The crowd follows those who've suffered for their message, because there's a weight behind their words that no Instagram caption can fake. Think of Nelson Mandela. Think of Viktor Frankl. They didn't emerge from palaces. They emerged from prisons, not just physical ones, but mental prisons of fear, doubt, and darkness. And they turned those prisons into platforms. Why? Because they refused to let circumstance define identity. That's what Dale Carnegie quietly lived, but rarely said. The most powerful person in any room is the one least controlled by external conditions. You want to destroy doubt? Good. Then stop worshiping comfort. Stop chasing validation. Stop negotiating with hesitation. Instead, build discipline in silence. Build excellence when no one claps. Refine your speech like a sword, not to impress, but to cut through noise, to pierce minds, to ignite movement. Carnegie said, "Talk to someone about themselves and they'll listen for hours." But here's the deeper layer. You must first know who you are before you lead anyone else. And that's where most people fail. They learn the script, but forget the spirit. They mimic the tone, but never own the truth. Because truth requires confrontation, and confrontation is where influence is forged. You must confront the fear that silences you. You must confront the laziness that steals your future. You must confront the soft, subtle excuses that dress themselves as logic, but serve as anchors. You want to walk like Carnegie? Then command your day like a general. You want to speak like Lincoln? Then think with depth and act with relentless integrity. You want to radiate like Musk? Then fall in love with the pressure of becoming. Too undeniable to ignore. This is not motivational fluff. This is the blueprint of personal command. Because here's the hidden truth. You are always influencing. Every word, every delay, every choice, every silence. It all speaks, even when you don't. So the only question is, are you influencing from fear or from force, from doubt or from direction, from passivity or from purpose? Because one creates ripples, the other starts revolutions. And when you choose to live fully, to speak boldly, to stand firmly in who you are becoming, you stop being a voice in the crowd and become the echo that never fades. You stop needing charisma because you radiate character. You stop performing influence because you've become the source of it. And the world, it bows to those who lead themselves. It obeys those who no longer flinch. It remembers those who, without screaming, still move mountains. So here's your challenge. Don't just study influence. Become it. In your rituals, in your walk, in the quiet choices when no one sees. Because what Carnegie never said out loud, but lived in every breath, was this: the real leader does not wait to be chosen. The real leader chooses themselves, and the world eventually follows. And now it's your turn. Command your voice. Command your habits. Command your mission. And the world won't just notice. It will never forget.